So many of you probably know that by now I am writing my second book. And the first book was all about leadership, professional leadership of others. The second book is really about self leadership, leading ourselves. It's all about personal success and victories. And one of the sections that I was just writing earlier today that I wanted to share with you guys was all about setting boundaries and saying no. And the story that I was sharing as I wrote today was about a situation that happened when I was about 23 or 24 years old. I was working as an assistant manager at a bank in the southern Maryland area of our country, just north of DC. And one morning I got very sick and I woke up with food poisoning. It was very obviously food poisoning for the final couple of hours of what should have been sleep time. I was vomiting every half an hour. And I called my boss and basically said, I'm really sick. I think I have food poisoning. I'd really like not to be able to work today. I think I need to stay home. And my boss, the branch manager at that time, said, Amy, I really need you to come in today. We have one of our PFAs on vacation, and we have this other PFA that is out on a day off for working Saturday. And so I don't have anyone to cover the platform and open accounts and take loan applications. I need you to do it. I need you to come to work today. You need to be at work today. And I accepted that. So she told me to be there. I was. And I distinctly remember as I drove to the branch that day, I had to pull my car over, open the driver's side door, and vomit up the side of my car, then close back up the car and continue on my way to work. That is how sick I was, as I was literally throwing up on the way to work. In the middle of the day, I took a client of mine that I knew very well. They were the Zellers. He was a superintendent of a school. She was a principal at a different school district. They were very well off. They were applying for a $600,000 home equity line of credit so they could actually purchase a second home, and then they were going to pay off the home equity when the home that they were living in sold. And we had made a plan to meet that day. And I took the appointment with them. And a couple of times during the account application that I was taking, I had to excuse myself to go to the bathroom and vomit again in the bathroom. I had brought Listerine with me, so I was, flushing out my mouth and coming back saying, okay, where were we? And going back to the application. And they became very bothered by this. They both said, Amy, you shouldn't be at work today. We could have rescheduled. You could have called us and let us know that you did not have the ability to meet us today. We could have done this tomorrow or another day. This is ridiculous that you're here. And I had kind of said, Deb wanted me to come in. Deb was my manager at the time. She asked me to be here. And they were very bothered by that. They kept kind of glancing down towards her office and saying, she should have never made you come in. This is terrible leadership. You are very sick. You cannot be working today. You need to go home. And I was saying, no, it's fine. I'm going to be all right. I'll rest when I get home later. I can make it through the day. It's getting a little better. And at that time, what I didn't realize was that these clients of mine were trying to tell me, Amy, you should have set better boundaries and you should have said no. You should not have been coerced or influenced into being here. And afterwards, after I had this experience and it was said and done, and some months went by, and actually also after I was getting more involved in leadership and learning about leadership, I thought about what they said and what they were trying to tell me that day. And I realized that they were right. I should not have come to work that day. But what I also realized is even though I had a lousy boss that didn't really care about how I was feeling and care about my health, I needed to take on some of the fault as well. I had said yes. I had agreed to that. I had basically called and asked, hey, would it be okay if I'm not at work today? I did not call and say, I will not be at work today. I cannot be at work today. Going to work today would be a bad idea for me. This is not good for my health. It was up to me to tell my boss what I needed and that I was not capable of coming and doing a really great job. A couple of years later, I had moved to California. I was working as a branch manager at that time for a different bank, and my grandma passed away. And my boss at that time actually said, hey, the memorial service is in upstate New York on a Saturday. That's what you've shared with me. Can you be back in the office on Monday? We have a lot going on. I'd like to have you back by Monday. And in that situation, much different person, about 3 years later, I developed some courage. I said, no, I can't do that. I am going to the memorial service. And, for me to get back on Sunday night to be at work on Monday, I would have to basically be flying out first thing on Sunday morning so that I can have the layover. It's basically an 8 or 9 hour flight with the layover. It's really hard to get to Buffalo to Los Angeles direct. And the memorial service is a couple of hours away from the Buffalo airport. I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to spend some time with my family, a few days. I'll be back on Wednesday. That's just what I want to do. And I have the vacation time or even the bereavement to do this. And my boss seemed displeased and dissatisfied with my answer. But at that point in time, I didn't care as much because what I had developed inside was enough inner worth and enough sense of self and enough courage and conviction to say, I know what's important to me. I know what's important to my health. I know what's important to my family. And if I identify what that is, I'm also more familiar with state law and federal law. And ultimately, I know that my vacation time, my personal time, my sick time is mine. And I get to announce when I'm going to use it, especially in the situation of serious illness or especially in the situation of a death in the family. And so I see situations a lot where people will sort of say, well, my boss isn't letting me do this, or, I'm not able to do whatever. I had to go to work sick because that's what my boss kind of made me feel like I had to do. And maybe there's some truth to that. Not every boss is going to be caring, loving, compassionate, kind, and say, oh my gosh, you're sick. Please do stay home. I really want you to rest and get well, and you shouldn't be here when you're sick. Some bosses probably will try to persuade or influence you to come in. Again, they shouldn't do that. But if that is happening to you, I want everyone to know that you have the ability to stand up for yourself and to advocate for yourself and to voice for yourself and to say, this is what I'm needing, this is what my family's needing, and I want and am going to stay home when I'm sick. I am going to be at this funeral. I am going to take the rest that I need. My kid just got rushed to the hospital from school due to some accident on a playground. I need to leave right now to get to the hospital and to be there for him, and I'm going to do that. Ultimately, I see lots of people kind of compromise with these areas, not have the courage to say no, not have the courage to set boundaries, and their lives get worse because of it. So if you're in a situation where someone is telling you to do things that don't align with your personal life or don't align with what you know is right, speak up, stand up, say something. Don't worry so much about perception or how you're going to be viewed or am I going to be a poor performer because of this. It's far more important that you stay true to yourself, true to your vision, true to your values, true to your top priorities, especially when they're family or whatnot. Final thought, I do want to say that both of these things happening to me, being told basically, hey, I prefer you don't go to your grandma's funeral or stay very long, and hey, I need you to be here at work, even though you're very violently and obviously ill. Both of those things having taken place made me a better leader in the end. At the end of the day, I remembered what that felt like, and I said to myself, I never want anybody that works on my team or for me, directly or indirectly, to ever feel that they need to skip something like a funeral and come to work when they're sick. It made me have a very, very strong regimen or routine or process around, I don't ask questions when people say they need a day off. If they've got the time, they can take it for whatever the reason is. So just remember that sometimes if you're experiencing bad leadership or you're in even a bad relationship or a bad friendship, those things aren't pleasant. They're kind of unfortunate, but sometimes being on the receiving end of those kinds of things can make you a much stronger leader, friend, partner, supporter of other people in the future because you know what it's like when it gets done to you, and then you develop strong protocol around it. So maybe sometimes seeing bad leadership isn't always bad entirely. It helps you become a stronger leader because you learn from that in the long run. With that, I hope everybody enjoyed this segment on boundaries, saying no, and standing up for yourself. And I will see you all very soon.